Well, as you said, I arrived in February 23, so I arrived in winter. So my first impressions were it's foggy and it's extremely cold. But on a more serious note, I was also immediately struck by how friendly and welcoming everybody in St.Gallen and at the university is. So those are the adjectives I associate with St.Gallen, the university and people here. Everybody's extremely friendly, welcoming, and especially the university. I really felt very welcome from the first day I was here, so it's definitely a place where you can feel home. I am a public lawyer, so this means I work in constitutional law and administrative law. My bigger research project at the moment is on transparency in Swiss constitutional law. This means I aim at establishing a framework of transparency in state action, state organization and procedures. And more broadly, my research focuses on media law, on freedom of speech and on comparative constitutional law.
I think it's fair to say that I settled in quite well and was received extremely well both by the faculty and the staff. My colleagues are very friendly. I already had a couple of interactions. The staff is very supporting. Also the students are very engaging and I think very smart. And so I enjoyed teaching in the last semester. I also enjoyed doing research. So yes. It's fair to say I settled in quite well. I am an applied microeconomic theorist. That means I study the interaction or the strategic interaction between individual players or agents. I'm interested in a couple of different topics, among which are contracts, auctions, and I'm also interested in the topic of blockchains. And in each of these topics I mainly work theoretical, but sometimes I also use data to analyze the problems. For example, in contract theory, I am interested in the problem of information acquisition. So I'm looking at situations where a principal or an employer has an employee that needs to gather or produce novel information and then report back. So you can think of a research and development department in a firm where workers have to do research and then report it back, so for example on a product or on a market. And the problem with these environments is that the research process is relatively intransparent, and the superiors usually don't have a means to check whether the reports are accurate. And that means you have to design contracts that give the right incentives to the agents to work diligently and then report back truthfully. So in contracting terms, this gives rise to a problem that has both moral hazard and adverse selection in it, and I'm interested in analyzing the structure of these problems, which I find quite interesting.
When I first visited the university campus, I was impressed by the close interplay between architecture, art and research. It is amazing what kind of extraordinary works of art there are to discover at the University of St.Gallen. And I personally like the main building, particularly from the 60s. My research focus is on political philosophy. I ask what makes a democracy a democracy. Strictly speaking, there is no such thing as one only democracy. Democracies cannot be exactly identical because they are determined and shaped by those who live in it. But at the same time, it is unsatisfactory if very different political orders are all equally designated as democracies. So what we lack then are criteria with which we can better define and discuss what political leeway we are dealing with in democracies. And the focus here is on the question of which concept of freedom goes together with the democratic self-understanding. I show why we should defend a transformative concept of freedom.